So, NASCAR driver turned broadcasting star turned dirt track racer, Kenny Wallace. I know you had to run off as soon as our lunch was over, so we didn't get one word out of you, but thanks for flying all the way back here to Pasadena to just say something random for us.
I love my wife. I like her.
Yep, that'll do.
And now for Dinner with Racers, presented by
Continental Tire.
with your hosts, Ryan Eversley and Sean Heckman.
Placeholder radio sound. I'm a driver. I'm very angry. This is the sound of a driver on the radio during a race.
What do you think I should order?
Welcome to Dinner with Racers. I'm Ryan Eversley alongside my friend Sean Heckman,
Friend.
and this is Season 2.
Woo! So we are about 1 mile out, which in Los Angeles terms means about 2.5 more hours to go from getting Ryan out of California and back home to Atlanta, because we are wrapping up a 40-day adventure that took us across 29 states, over 12,000 miles in our Honda Odyssey with Ryan. What kind of tires?
Continental Tire.
Cross contact LX20s. And about midway through our trip, after going as far east as Ohio and then circling back northwest and going through Michigan, we then headed south to the beautiful city of Arnold, Missouri to meet up with Kenny Wallace. Now, most motorsports fans are probably already familiar with Kenny and, of course, the Wallace family, but just to sort of do a brief career history, Kenny Wallace is a longtime NASCAR driver. Drove for several decades in both NASCAR's top-tier Cup category as well as what would now be the Xfinity Series. Actually, currently the record holder for most number of Xfinity starts. And then, of course, parlayed that into a career on television and is now doing, just for fun, a lot of late model racing. Just a true lover of racing and a true bigger-than-life personality.
Kenny's a great friend of mine. I got to race with him a couple years ago at the Daytona 24-hour, and he's one of those dudes that always looks out for you. He's always checking in on you. He's not one of the people that pretends to be your friend and then doesn't really matter. I think if you listen to this episode, you're going to laugh more than you're going to cry, that's for sure, because he just couldn't stop saying inappropriate things, which is why he and I get along great. So
we learn about Rusty. We learn about, what about his wife?
We learned about his wife and what Kenny likes about her, as well as his brother Rusty, and growing up Missouri frugal, as he calls it. Kind of neat to hear his perspective on that, as well as him telling tales about racing the Daytona 24-hour and just what it's like to be a NASCAR driver in modern era versus the before time. So good dude all around.
So we ate at the Arnold House.
I had a buffalo chicken wrap, and I think it was the best one I had all season. It was just super good, and I think that's what Kenny had too. So I knew I was in the right place.
And somewhat similar, I had their chicken sandwich.
Oddly enough.
And it was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So let's listen to Kenny Wallace.
All right, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's up, my brother? All right, good to see you. Do you remember Sean? You guys met a long time
we met
ago.
very, very briefly at TRG way back when. Hey, nice seeing you, man.
Did you tell us you were doing this?
Yeah, we called ahead.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
We're driving to see you.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we
No.
did.
We really did. We just
Yeah.
drove from
We
Brighton,
came from
Michigan.
Brighton, Michigan. We spent the night in Springfield last night.
Springfield.
I couldn't believe that you just called me every once in a while.
Yeah.
I was like, my gosh, where's he at? I know. I thought you were racing somewhere around here.
No. We're doing a whole month-long trip for this.
Could I have a half and half tea? Half sweet?
Oh, are you
half
not a Palmer
unsweet?
guy?
No. Tea.
What?
He
no.
wants tea.
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 What do you
Half
what
and,
are you
said
saying?
half and half?
Yeah, well, see, here's the reason I do half and
Okay.
half tea is because
Wait, half ice and half sweet
half,
and half
so
unsweetened?
straight up iced tea, but
Okay.
half sweet
Oh,
and half
okay.
unsweet.
So not half lemonade, half
No.
icy. Okay.
No, the reason that all started was because my blood sugar got to 124 like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be over 124. So my daughter Brittany taught me that. So when I got off all Coke, all Pepsi, all
Right.
sweet tea,
Right.
dude, I was shaking because I was addicted to caffeine, you know.
I'm right there with you.
And when I was hungry, I would just have a Coke or Pepsi.
I get it.
So
I totally.
now
Let
that
me
you
move your mic up just a little.
Yep, I will. Hold on. Right about here, is that
That's
good?
That's
perfect.
Yeah.
You're the best. Thanks.
So since you went off of big caffeine, I don't notice any change in your energy level. You seem to be still pretty much.
I'm tireder. I'm way tireder.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I'm wore out all the time. I told Schrader one time, I said, it was last year, I said, are you tired? He goes, all the time.
Every day.
Every day. That's the way I am right now.
Yeah.
So for me to keep up my entertainment level, I got to get a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
Because old Herminator's wearing out.
Man, I don't like it. I don't like it. I need Herm right where I like him. I need him up there.
You won't see any difference.
Yeah.
But when I go to bed, I'm going
Yeah,
to
you're
bed.
out.
I'm
You're out.
out.
Hibernation.
Yeah.
That's
It's way
funny.
easier for me to go to bed now. So, like, I mean, it's easy for me at 11:30 go, I'm going to bed.
Oh, well, that's pretty late for most people. Because
Yeah.
I'm up late all the time, and like people are like,
Yeah.
I know I'm in bed by 9:30. Nah. no
Well, see,
way.
I grew up, me and my mom used to stay up watching the Johnny Carson show.
Okay.
So I forgot what time the Johnny Carson show came
That was
on here.
11:30. Well,
in the
West
Midwest
Coast it
here.
was 11:30. I don't know Midwest.
I
yeah.
mean, and what's crazy is this is my home. Even though we lived in Charlotte for 28 years, I always wanted to come back here, but like 5 miles from here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can close my eyes, the living room. I go right by the house all the time. I'm like, you're in my house. Actually, I stopped by there once, and my brother Mike's handwriting and everything is still in the garage.
No way.
Kenny
that's awesome.
Schrader's old phone number, because we used to just write right on the wood walls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty cool.
And they probably have no clue.
They're like, this guy's here again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop coming here.
So I grew up staying up late,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
watching Johnny
Same.
Carson,
Yeah.
Same.
and eating vanilla ice cream and a Coke, then go to bed.
Right. Yeah. It's time for sleep. Yeah.
My mom would say, Kenneth, you can stay up, but if you give me any problem getting up in the morning, that's it.
Right.
You are not staying up late anymore.
Right.
Oh, it was horrible. Trying to get up.
You're like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So you're going. You said I got to do this fucking radio show, this other fucking radio show, and then I'm going to race dirt. That was your schedule for the week when
You know
I said, "What do you got going on?"
You know what's funny is last night on Sirius XM, we were interviewing Slugger Labby,
Yeah.
the crew chief of Austin Dillon.
Love.
Sean
I have a
loves- Sean
special
loves that
love
guy.
for Slugger Lab.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what you just said to me is what I said to Slugger. What happened was Austin Dillon called in,
Okay.
and he was kind of just having fun with Slugger. The whole team was down there in Homestead, Miami,
Yeah, the tire testing or something.
at a bar drinking.
Yeah.
And Slugger's like, I got to do this motherfucking radio show. So he goes outside. I said, when we got done interviewing him, I said, okay, Slugger, I'm going to paint this picture and you tell me how close it is. You're drinking beer with your boys. You're having a good time. You looked at them all and said, I got to go to this fucking radio show. You walked. I said, I can picture you outside with a beer in your hand and you're talking to us. He goes, dead on, except you missed one thing. I said, what? He says, I'm wearing shorts and sandals.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He's doing good. Yeah.
Let's go.
I am so excited you guys are here.
Yeah, dude,
Man, way
thanks
to
for
go with
having
your
us out here.
your download deal.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
I'm telling you,
yeah.
that was just so down low.
Yeah, we were
Text
pretty.
me once a day.
Yeah,
Good
no,
for tomorrow, yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'd love to have him on if he can do it. If he can't do it, all good,
Oh,
no
God,
pressure.
yes.
Because then you know how it is when people.
I'm
"Man,
honored.
I want you to do a thing, and you're like, I was gonna sleep that
Only
day
when
or
we're
whatever.
100% right.
You know what I mean? So like,
110%
that's why I was like, I'm not
right.
gonna put any pressure on him because.
Yeah,
when-
and I was that way, but I like you so much, I wanted to be with you.
I appreciate that. I feel the same way.
Seriously.
And that's why we were like, okay, let's not bother him. But if he's in, we'll make the trip. And it was fine. It didn't really
Right.
affect our trip because we're going from here to Indy. You know, we'll be in Indy for a couple of days, so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
So
Do the drive around, yeah.
yeah, we're going to Ganassi's shop tomorrow. We're gonna have dinner with Mike Hull.
In Indy?
Yeah, in Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go see Mike Hull, who kind of runs
All of the
Chip's
IndyCar stuff?
Yeah, and sports car stuff. And
Yeah.
he's been around forever. And
That's right up your alley.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that'll
Dude, you
that'll be
race
fun.
you race a lot of different cars.
I tried to. I'm like the Kenny Wallace of sports car racing.
Yes.
Because you're in something all the time.
Yes.
You're doing dirt. You're
Right.
doing stock cars.
I live, I've had so many questions asked to me about why do I run dirt?
Yeah.
I look at Rusty and I look at, other drivers. There's very few drivers that when they quit NASCAR, they quit cold turkey.
Right.
You look at like Ricky Rudd races the hell out of go-karts.
Yeah.
Bill Elliott races a lot. I talk to Bill every once in a while. Great conversation with him. He and his buddy race motorcycles through the woods.
Oh, no
I forget
way.
what they call that, TNT stuff or whatever. But most everybody stays active.
They keep doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you all are, but old to me, I mean, I'm getting older and tireder, but I'm not ready to.
You still want to play.
I still want to play.
Yeah,
Perfectly put.
Yeah.
I mean, I like doing TV and radio, but that's not me.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're racers.
Yep. Right. Yep.
I ain't shutting my down right away. You know what I mean?
I hear you, loud and clear.
I ain't shutting it down.
Well, so speaking of racing, technically all three of us, but really you guys bonded at the Rolex 24 in 2011?
Big time.
2010 or 2011.
I think it was 2011.
Wonderful event. I learned
Yeah.
so much.
Because that was your first race like that, right?
I know you'd actually
Had
done
you
the
done the
24 hour before in something a long time ago. You told me.
You're right.
Like an old
For
Trans Am type of car or something?
1993 for Felix Sabatis. He had a buddy
Yeah.
that had a lower level GT car. Basically, it was like an old. It was an Ed Howe car.
Okay.
Basically, it was a left-hander car.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
you
yeah.
just oval car.
Yeah.
Right.
But the guy made it into. I did it for Felix.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience. I blew the motor up going through the chicane on the back straightaway. I went through and I looked down and the oil light was on.
Okay.
I'm not saying I blew it up, but the oil pressure light came on.
Right. It blew up when you were in it.
I blew it when I was in it.
Yeah, I hear you.
But that was so that Daytona 24 that I ran with you was a highlight in my life.
Oh, wow, I appreciate that.
It was for so many levels.
Yeah.
The stories I could just tell you on and on. But I think I got comfortable with you right away because I didn't know you. And you looked at me and you talked to me about my tweeting right away.
That's right. Yeah,
and I said, "Oh, I like him because he knows me."
Yeah, I follow you.
So I kind of got close to you
Yeah.
right away. But
Yeah.
my God, your road racing skills are outrageous.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
You're,
Thank you.
and I'm not saying that to you because
No,
you're
I
my
know-
friend.
I believe you. Yeah.
You're a high-level road course
Well,
guy.
that's one of the things I like about you is that you'll tell somebody you like when they do something wrong. You don't
Well,
sugarcoat it. You'll be like, "Oh, that was dumb."
But I'm not mean about it.
No, but you tell it like it is.
But my God, you're good and fast, and so that road course, that 24-hour that we run 8th. You ran 90% of the race. We couldn't keep up within 2 seconds of you, maybe 3, but I remember going to bed trying to get like 2-3 hours of sleep, and my motorhome was in I don't know what you guys call it, like the 180-degree corner.
yeah, one of the horseshoes.
One of the horseshoe.
Yeah.
And I was trying to go to sleep, and I did go to sleep, and all of a sudden I got woke up to this. Wah, wah. And I woke up, because the wing, ding, 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 stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys, and I don't know who was in the car at that time, but we went yellow. It was so foggy.
Foggy. That's right.
Oh,
I
That's
think
right.
y'all
Yeah.
went 2 hours at
Yeah,
least.
it was something like that at 2 hours of yellow where, like, because
that-
the visibility is so bad, we use the corner workers on the infield. We don't just use the oval lights. And so when the corner workers can't see each other, they can't tell the next guy if there's a crash or something. You know what I mean?
It was incredible.
So that's the kind of the reasoning behind it.
But
Yeah,
what I remember was it kind of put me to sleep. So I went to sleep hearing the natural
Same
sound.
noise,
I went to sleep hearing this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I got woke up by
Right. It's different. So you're like, all right, something's changed here.
something's big
Yeah.
and it's going on.
I
and
thought you were
on.
going to say the motorhome ran out of gas or something. So it was,
no.
it's the generator dying.
Yeah.
I've woken up to that before. You're like, oh, no.
But, and then we did such good things. I got brain fade. Who did we race for?
TRG.
Yeah, well, I know that.
We're gonna
Kevin
believe that.
Buckler. Oh, the Children's Tumor Foundation.
Children's Tumor Foundation was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I never knew about that
Same.
disease.
That was the first time I worked with him. I still work with him. One of my favorite things was getting to spend time around you, and then I think Brendan Gaughan was in one of the other cars that
Yeah,
weekend.
he
That
was in
weekend
the
too.
car that
I think they won.
And
They won.
Yeah,
with
that's
no-
right.
With no clutch.
So DirecTV just called, and you got to take the call because if you don't, they're not showing up.
Thanks for letting me take that phone call.
No,
just
of
now.
course.
That's
so
the-
this
the
is
miracle of editing,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is pre-recorded, so
Yeah.
this won't go up for another month.
Yeah.
And we'll edit all the shit out. But
It's good.
But the fun thing about this is that our episodes are just long-winded, like no platform.
Yeah.
It's just like, Kenny, what'd you have for breakfast? And you're like, oh, let me
Right.
tell you a story about breakfast, and that's it. You know what I
I
mean?
love it.
And we'll
I
talk
lo-
about
I
racing
love all
stuff,
this.
but like it's just like catching up with buds and racing. You know?
I love it. So, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for 28 years.
Yeah.
But I always loved my hometown.
Yeah. You're very
Yeah.
loyal.
I
to
like
Missouri.
representing.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Epic stories about everything. With the Rams, with the Blues, with the Cardinals. I'm so lucky, to get invited to golf tournaments.
Right.
And then you meet people.
Sure.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
But moving to Charlotte, North Carolina, November of 1988. But now before that, 1984, I was a crew chief.
That's right.
On the Levi Garrett team.
Yeah.
1984 in Cup. Joe Ruttman was the driver. Levi Garrett.
Yeah.
Tobacco.
Yep.
So that was in 84. I came back to St. Louis, and I started being a race car driver in 86.
Oh, we got fans?
Yep.
Fans,
Those
there we
are long-time childhood friends of mine.
Okay.
And, those are the Mahonies. And, yes, basically my second best friend in life.
That's cool.
That's cool.
But they know what I'm up to. They're always down at Lake of the Ozarks where Dorsey Schrader.
Yeah.
They're,
I've heard all sorts of
yeah, they
stories.
live right here, but they are freaks. They got to go to the lake. They have to go to the lake every Friday. And I said,
Right.
you're taking me next year.
Yeah, I want to go.
So, yeah, I mean, and that kind of falls right into
Just
what
to
we're
put some
talking
context
about.
on here. Some people were walking by and waved at you.
Yeah.
And you did the whole two-hand wave. Are you like the honorary mayor here? Like, does everybody know Kenny Wallace?
I don't like to think of myself like that just because, you know, even if I have money, I want to be middle class.
Sure. I get that.
I don't want to go through the whole deal where
I don't have money and I want to
he's
be middle class.
NASCAR. You know, he's
Right.
got this. Man, you know me, it's very, very important for me
Yeah.
to be middle class.
You do garage sales at your race shop.
Oh, all the time.
And you
My
just
wife.
and you get rid of whatever. You
Yeah.
get rid of clothes or old TV or an old whatever. Like I always find that so funny.
Yeah.
And you're like there, and Kim's
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and you guys are doing the whole thing, and like it's a real garage sale at the race shop.
and I got to tell you, so that is my wife.
Yeah.
We're Midwest Missouri people, and what that means is, I always hashtag Missouri frugal.
That's what I was gonna bring up. I have a friend that's from St. Louis that's like I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Because I say that to her sometimes. I'm like, I'm Missouri frugal. She's like, I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
she's 28, so maybe it's a generational
Well,
thing.
I'll tell you what Missouri frugal means is, and I'm not proud of this. We are in a very under blue collar, we're almost under middle class here.
Okay.
You know, we all grew up broke on our ass.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was a hard-working man, carried 2 jobs, worked on Kings Highway at King Dodge, a Dodge dealership,
Okay,
and at
yeah.
the same time threw a newspaper route.
I got you.
And us boys were involved with that every Tuesday. And it was a $100 bill. And I would insert, let's say, True Value said we're going to start advertising. So I would open the real newspaper out, put the inserts in,
Okay.
and then Rusty and Mike would roll them.
Yeah.
And I'd put them in the Suburban. And then we'd start, delivering the newspaper.
Yeah. So you guys are delivering papers, but you used to sit the inserts into the newspaper.
Yeah, and
Separately.
you know, so this is all about the hashtag Missouri Frugal,
Yeah.
and maybe I made it up, but I don't think so. I don't think so because Kenny Schrader's wife, Ann Schrader, she grew up here.
Right.
She knew what I meant right away.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, it was like, do you have $3 to help me with gas?
Right.
Okay, I grew up in that environment.
Yeah.
When I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, I realized everybody had money.
Sure.
It was more like the town of transplants.
Yeah.
So I grew up in an environment where, you didn't take a shower every day.
Okay.
My friend, we didn't know it, but we were redneck as hell.
But you didn't know any better.
I asked my mom years later. I came back here and I said, Mom, were we rednecks? And I was serious about this.
Yeah.
She said, Kenny, I'm afraid we were. So, for example, if to this day, right now, if I borrowed a $20 bill on a Monday,
Yeah.
and my buddy said, okay, but you got to give it back to me by Friday, and you didn't pay back by Friday, friendships were going to be lost over that.
Yeah.
So, the weather's hot here. It's very miserable.
Sure.
There's just something about Missouri, especially the St. Louis area.
Okay.
We have hardcore crystal meth people,
Okay.
drugs, a little south of here.
Uh-huh.
But they're my people. I love my environment.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't prosper around wealthy people.
Okay.
Sure.
So you want to be around your people.
I want to be around my people.
I get that.
I can
get
fit
that.
in with
You
anybody.
can make do, but that's your people.
I've been on yachts. I've been to the White House. I've been lobbying.
Yeah.
In the Senate hallways. And you and I, we've raced so much. I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've seen it all,
But
but
you get to do some really unique things because of what racing can bring for you.
I've been in the mosh pits in Miami,
Yeah.
seeing people snort cocaine, and I'm like, oh my God! And I run.
Right.
I'll hang out with my dope smoking friends. You know, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's very
But-
simple around here.
Yeah.
So Missouri Frugal is all that.
Okay.
You know,
That's where you come from, though, so
Yeah.
you're true to it.
if I ask my friends to go somewhere with me, a deal's got to be made because they don't have any money.
Yeah.
You know, they're hard workers. You know, I say, hey, you go somewhere with me. Oh man, I'll pay for everything. Okay, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
So all my friends are true to me.
Yeah.
They'll do anything for me, but money is a huge.
Yeah.
And I'm talking a $20 bill huge.
Yeah.
So that's where Missouri Frugal
I get
comes
it.
from.
Yeah. I've always wondered about that because you use that hashtag, and I'm like, I love that you do it. And I always like, anytime you're like, yeah, come on over to the shop, you'll put your like shop address on Twitter.
It's horrible.
You know what I mean? You're like, come on over here, we're selling like, and like people are going through like old race shirts and old jeans and stuff, and you're like tweeting about it. You're like, yeah, that guy bought my jeans for $1.
And you know what? I told my wife, I said, Kimberly, Dale Earnhardt wouldn't do this. But I got to tell you a quick story that just was incredible. David Reagan,
Uh-huh.
the NASCAR Sprint Cup driver,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
He acts like me, and David's got a lot of money because
Okay.
when he drove for Roush, he made a shitload
I'm
of money.
sure.
He comes to the garage sale on
Looking for
Thursday.
deals.
Yeah.
On
Right.
Thursday, goes to Talladega, qualifies, and wins the Sprint Cup race.
Yeah.
This is 3-4 years ago
Yeah.
when David Gilliland
Yeah,
pushed
that's right.
him on
They
the last
worked
lap.
together. Yep.
So, me and Kyle Petty were in Victory Lane at the time. It's Speed TV still,
Yeah.
or it could have been FS1, but bottom line, it's a couple of years ago. And he's in Victory Lane, and I said, okay, first things first. Do you think you stopping at our garage sale is why you won this race? So I like David Reagan because there's a guy that's got millions of bucks, but he still stops at garage sales.
He's still himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't get my brother Rusty to, Rusty's got to go to Cabo.
Yeah.
I love Rusty with all my heart, but I tell Rusty, I said, brother, you're too busy being famous. Come dirt racing with me.
I like that.
We stop at the Flying J and the
Right,
Loves.
I
and-
know.
Right,
I know.
right.
I like when Vine first came out. You and I were both big on Vine.
Yeah.
And you would post these funny videos with a couple of your crew guys off the dirt team when you had the Jeg sponsorship,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys would just be at the Flying Hook, as they call it. You guys were eating a sandwich
I
or
never
whatever
knew
at
that,
2 in
Flying
the morning.
Hook.
You never heard the Flying Hook?
No.
You guys are there at 2 in the morning getting a burrito or
Always.
a sandwich or whatever, and like, got to get on over
Yeah.
to so and so for the Dirt Nationals tomorrow.
Yeah. So I mean, all that involved, the hashtag Missouri Frugal on Twitter. I don't use it very much. I probably haven't used it in months.
Yeah.
But it's more about my environment. St. Louis, the rapper Nelly helped put us on the map.
Yeah.
Again, it was Kyle Petty that told me that Jackie Joyner Kersey, Vincent Price,
Okay.
from right across the river.
Yeah.
They were from a hardcore area, East St. Louis.
Yeah.
And we all know East St. Louis. I mean, they were so broke on their ass that, they got shut down. They didn't have enough money to run their police.
Just wasn't even a town anymore.
Wasn't even
Yeah.
town anymore.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got a lot of famous people right now. Andy Cohen.
Yeah.
He's from here.
Okay.
But, it's St. Louis. Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
Huge St. Louis Cardinal fan. So I like the fine life. I love to go to the Bahamas. I love to go on yachts. But it's not. It's not imperative for me to live that lifestyle 24/7.
Right.
So, on one hand, you like to do that, but I think I'd say your true passion is dirt racing because you are fired up about doing that. How many races a year are you doing with your dirt team?
Yeah, right at 59 with my own Kenny Wallace Racing dirt
Right.
car team. 59 this year, and probably about another 10
Yeah.
driving out on the West Coast.
Okay.
With cars that are called IMCA cars. They look just like mine.
Okay.
Little lesser motors, a little different tire rule. So 70,
Yeah.
but it's easy to do.
Yeah, you show up, everything. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's sorted out.
It's so easy because we'll go to Daytona for Speed Weeks. We go to East Bay
Yeah.
Raceway in Tampa, and we'll run 3 races in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right.
So in dirt racing, when you say I've run 70 races, they're 30-lap features.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You roll in there at 5 o'clock.
I was going to say it's the evening.
Yeah, they're not these
It's
3-day
the evening
shows.
when the show
Yeah.
the show kind of gets going, right?
Yeah.
Starts at 5 and ends at midnight.
Yeah. Well, a good show.
If you make
a good show starts practice at 6 to 6:30, and
Yeah.
you're out of there at 9:30, 10:30.
okay, I got you.
But-
yeah.
We sat down with Brian Clausen last year, and the thing that struck us about his style of racing was that he was actually paying for the majority of it with prize money.
Yeah.
Like you're actually out
To
racing, trying to
continue
make it
going.
all work.
Yeah.
How's that working for you? Is it prize money? Is it sponsorship?
Yeah, there is a huge difference between Brian Clausen and me. Brian Clausen was a full-blown open-wheel driver.
Right.
And the reason I know so much about that is that's the way Kenny Schrader came.
Right.
So Kenny Schrader was open wheel, and Rusty Wallace, my brother, we were all in the same town.
Sure.
So I knew all about the open wheel lifestyle.
Right.
Open wheel lifestyle is made up more of owners that hire people to drive their car.
I got you.
Right.
Totally. As to where we tended to build our own race cars and race our own stuff. So Brian Clausen and Schrader were incredible because they have so much talent that car owners would say, hey,
I want you.
I want you to drive my car.
Yeah.
You'd run a race, you'd win the race, and these figures would be true to right now. Let's say Brian Clausen last year ran 100 races. He won most of them. He'd win a big race, and he might have been given $300.
Okay. Yeah.
But the key was he raced all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's ended up paying for itself, but it's not like he's not pocketing $1 million.
No.
But he's able to race comfortably throughout the year.
Yeah, the open wheel crowd, there's no money to be made. So, like any racing, you have to find what we call a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
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 And the sugar daddy
You know
and
about that
Brian.
in sports cars?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's all across the board.
100%.
I mean, it's what racing is.
Yeah.
So, like Brian, I'm not saying this is what Brian Clausen did, but this is what 99% of them do.
Yeah.
Is there's a sugar daddy that might own a gutter company or a,
Right.
Right.
or a construction company, and he'll say, I'm going to buy 2 midgets, or I'm going to have and those people become popular, and they would say, Brian Clausen, drive my car.
Yeah.
And it might pay $600 to win the race. And Brian, would win the race, and it might just get $200.
Yeah.
Right.
So what happens in that world is people would win a lot, and they think they'd have money,
Right.
but they're broke on their ass.
Right. Right.
So, Brian was, right there with that breed.
Right.
But what Brian was doing that started coming to an end was Brian was racing way more than anybody
Yeah.
up until his death.
Yeah.
They're chasing 200 starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I love Brian Clausen. I save a lot of pictures in my phone right now.
Yeah.
I would see him because our modifieds would run with their USAC open
Yeah, same
wheels.
events,
Yeah.
right?
We'd see each other.
Sure.
Everybody was laser focused. So you'd say hi,
Yeah.
and then later at night you'd meet up.
Definitely kick back, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wwere very fortunate to get to have him on with us last year, and he was a great kid to talk to. Very sad what happened.
I want to follow up on the dirt racing though.
Yeah.
Going back to, talking about NASCAR drivers, my brother Rusty quit cold turkey, and it just really shocked me because he loves racing. But then you got, like I was talking, Bill Elliott rices motorcycles. Ricky Rudd
He's the
runs
go-karts.
go-karts.
Yeah.
So me racing my dirt car has nothing to do with anything except I literally, in real, love racing.
Yeah.
I really like racing.
Right.
I get a thrill. I love the whole thing about it. I love the camaraderie as much as I love driving the car.
Yeah.
I like meeting the people. I like drinking the Bud Lights. I like going to Denny's. I like going to Waffle House.
That's actually, you said Denny's was your first response on where we should meet you.
Right.
You're like, I love Denny's.
Well, and I thought that, it'd be more down home and be easier to work with. You know what I mean? You try to go into an Applebee's, they're going to rough you up a little bit.
Well, that's a pretty classy place. So.
Yeah, that's high end. But I do. Applebee's is. I got all the prices figured out.
Oh, okay.
So I can take me and 3 of my guys to Culver's.
Oh, I know what you mean now.
It's $26.
You got the budget figured out in your head.
Yeah.
Then if I go down, like a place we're at right now.
Yeah.
Right here, the local house. If I take me and 3 of my team here, it's $56.
Right.
And if I go, Ruby Tuesdays has got great food, but it's by far off the charts expensive.
Comparatively,
It's
$86
$86 for me and my 3 guys.
Sure.
So it's a $100 bill.
Yeah.
So if things are going good, money's flowing good, we'll once every 2 weeks go to Ruby Tuesdays, get the salad bar, get
do whatever you want.
New Orleans
go big.
seafood. But if we're in a
Make it
hurry,
rain.
so it's $26 for Culver's.
Yeah.
For me and 3 of my crew members, total 4.
Yeah.
$56 for where we're at, or $86 at Ruby Tuesday.
What's to kind of put in perspective? What's one night of racing cost you for your dirt team? What's the budget for the night?
Well, and I pay all my own bills.
Yeah.
I do everything myself. I have help. My CPA and accountant / therapist, great guy. So, the thing about the dirt car is that it pays for itself, or else I don't race it.
Okay.
I'm a little bit like Roger Penske. Roger Penske told me this when I was a child. I think I was 15 years old, and Rusty drove the number 16 Norton Chevrolet Caprice car.
Okay.
And I would hang around Roger Penske as a little child, and I'll never forget Roger saying, the race car supports itself. So with the dirt car, it supports itself. I got sponsors, but, we're grabbing sponsors from everywhere.
Yeah.
It might be $2,000 here, $5,000 here,
Yeah.
70,000 here.
Right.
But for me to load up and go down the road, we're staying at a Super 8.
Uh-huh.
We're looking for those $60 hotel rooms.
That's exactly what we're doing on this trip.
We're looking for a bar of soap that lasts one over your body.
Yeah.
So you grab the bar of soap,
It's
you
gone at
wash
the end.
yourself, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So we look for the 56 to 60.
Yeah.
We got no problem with it.
Right.
I have a problem with Motel 6s. They seem to be a little dirtier. but I do like the Super 8s, Comfort Inns. So, we don't have a toter home.
Right.
So, I'm going to spend $200 on hotel rooms.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
Right.
The gas, to fill my truck up, it's $375.
Yeah.
My tires are $125 each on my car.
$125 per tire, and on dirt cars, road racing fans might not know this, but sometimes you guys will only put one tire on,
Right.
and it's the right rear generally.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that $125 tire would be a trip to Ruby Tuesdays. Now you're out of a tire.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So it is critical. This is why you know all the numbers, because you know exactly what it's going to cost you to do this stuff.
And my deal's a little different. So the people that I race with, I can't outdollar these guys because the rules are so tight.
Yeah. Right.
The only way I can outdollar them is this. I pay for my team's pit passes.
Okay.
I pay for, when we eat, I pay for everything.
Yeah.
So when people might say, well, Wallace has got all that NASCAR money or TV money,
Sure.
they're not well educated. The only way I outdollar people is I pay for my crew.
Okay.
I pay for everything. All the guys I race with, most of them, their crew members like racing so
they
much.
volunteer.
They pay for their own hotel rooms.
Yeah,
They
wow.
pay for their
Wow.
pit pass.
Yeah.
But for me, the question you asked, if I leave St. Louis on, let's say it's the Summer Nationals.
Okay.
And we race 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
For 1 month. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You go with me. You should go
I
with
would
me.
kill to do that.
You go with me. I pay for everything.
I'll throw a wrench.
We leave on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay, we leave on Monday, and we do it a lot. We'll race 5 out of 7 nights, easy.
Wow.
Now it will wear on you.
Yeah.
So we meet in the lobby on purpose at noon.
Yeah.
So the deal is, if you want to get up at 6, you do your deal.
Yeah.
But we're all going to meet
gonna
at
be
noon.
wheels
That way
up at
you
noon.
can do what you want to
You
do.
got a whole morning to kill.
Gain your strength back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So for me to leave on a Monday and say to come back to my shop on Friday because I have to go to work and do TV,
Yeah.
that trip right there might cost me $3,000.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's really, like, to give you, I'm sure you don't know the numbers on this stuff because it's not in your wheelhouse, but like a average sports car, like club level weekend, which is, I guess in comparison, like you're racing against some badass guys, but there are badass guys that race road racing club
Absolutely.
stuff. But a weekend in a spec Miata could be, which is like probably the lowest form of club racing, or at least entry point on price, is about $1,500 to $3,000, and that's a 2 or 3 day event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just said 5 races in 7 days, essentially.
Easily.
You know what I mean? And that's bargain racing right there. That's really good. And you're winning.
Yeah.
You're up front.
And, you know, here's the deal. I'm an asphalt racer.
Uh-huh.
I grew up – I didn't grow up road racing, but I know how good you all are. That's more stories about that later. But you are incredibly talented. But one thing we share in common is we're racing.
Mm-hmm.
A tire's a tire.
Yeah.
Hotel's a hotel.
Right.
Motor's a motor. Gas, oil.
Yeah.
So one thing I like about dirt racing, so, you know, I've already explained to you how much I love asphalt.
Yeah.
But one thing I really like about dirt racing is I can win $5,000. So like 3 weeks ago, Spoon River, Illinois, 50-lap race. 80 cars show up for 24 starting positions.
That's so cool.
I win the
that's
friggin'
awesome.
race. They write me a check for $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we can do that a lot, but for the most part, our race is a 20-lap feature is $700 to win.
To win. Yeah.
To win.
Yeah.
So I would say 80% of the time we're racing for $700 to $1,000 to win.
Yeah.
Now, if you run fifth, it's $250.
Yeah.
So it's probably the most level-headed racing out there.
To give people listening to this that are not familiar with the payout in terms of sports car racing, for example, to win in let's see, the GT3 class that I race in with the Acura, I think it's probably like $100,000 for the weekend, and if you win, I think it's like $10,000.
Yeah.
Or something. You're still 90 in the hole at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the weekend cost. The car itself's $500,000.
And 100% of the sports car teams in any series, IMSA, Rally World Challenge, whatever it is, the prize money is not factored into the budget.
No, not at all.
Because there just isn't.
No.
Yeah, that's not even. That's like an
afterthought.
afterthought.
Yeah.
The closest thing I can get to you is the little Hondas that I race sometimes in the Continental Tire Series. If you win in a Honda gives contingency money because they want to see their products out there. So it's like an added bonus. Like, hey, if you win in this car, you get a little bit more.
But no one's sitting there going, if I get second, I'm going to the next race next weekend.
No. Literally,
So,
like that's the closest you can get in sports car racing, where it almost makes a
Right.
very, very vague almost makes sense, and then it immediately goes out the window at the next level. So,
You know, same conversation, but just a little bit off of it. There's only one way I've ever made money at racing, and that was go NASCAR.
yeah,
right.
NASCAR made me a lot of money. But all other forms of racing, nobody makes any money. We do it because we scrap, claw. Carl Edwards' stories are unbelievable.
yeah.
You know, Carl Edwards was told, if you want to go NASCAR or you want to go run asphalt. So there's a guy named Mike Mittler.
Okay, so time out. So we had dinner last night with Dan Binks.
Yeah.
He runs the Corvette racing program for sports car racing, and we said, we're having lunch tomorrow with Kenny Wallace, and he goes, ask him about the name Mike Mittler.
Yes.
That was the first thing he said, and we were like, oh, okay, and here you are bringing him up totally unprovoked.
Right.
But yeah, he said that Mike Mittler gave Carl his big chance, and that you'd probably know him from being around the truck series and things like that.
So the deal with Mike Mittler.
I mean, yeah, it's written right there. I just want you to see Mike
I love
Mittler.
it.
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
the deal with Mike Mittler is absolutely incredible. Mike Mittler is an incredible machinist.
Okay.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s, he would show up at the racetrack when my dad raced. Mittler started coming to our shop with Rusty, okay? We would always go buy a Craftsman socket, put a spring in it, and it'd last maybe a race and it would break. It would crack. Mittler was a machinist. Before Mike Mittler was Mittler Brothers, Mittler was at our shop every night. He created a socket, and he's a machinist, so this term was called broaching.
Okay.
You took the socket and you burned the socket on the inside and created, instead of a 12-point socket or whatever it was, Mittler had like a 6-point socket or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he made the socket to where it would not crack, and it would spit the socket out or the nut out.
Right.
So if I keep the air wrench open, I go ee. Every time you came off, the nut
Gone.
would go flying.
Yeah.
Mittler made that.
Yeah, that saved a lot of time.
And all the NASCAR guys started buying them on the down low.
You're okay.
Then Mittler, the whole time making a real living
With his real stuff.
with its real stuff for
Right.
like real people.
Yeah.
Right.
But on the side, he was making racing things.
Yeah.
So then he started making the bead roller,
Yeah.
the
Right.
bead roller,
Right.
the brake, refining the brake for
Yeah.
racers.
Yeah.
So Mike Mittler started with us, started with
Yeah.
Rusty Wallace Racing. That's where he kind of got his, I would say, his next level up. Because
Okay.
Mittler would go on the hauler with us.
Yeah.
'Cause when Rusty made it, went down south, Mittler started a truck team.
No, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Mike
that's
Mittler
kinda what-
Mittler started a truck team, and Mittler had one leg in, one leg out, and Mike Mittler spent all the money that he could
Yeah.
on building some trucks,
And that was in the Craftsman truck, like
Craftsman Truck Series.
beginning of it, essentially.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much the
yeah.
beginning of it, and his trucks were nowhere near as good as the other people, but Mittler is incredibly good at what he does. Dear friend of mine, he builds things for me right this minute. His business never suffers. His business is over here.
Right.
The Craftsman truck, our Camping World trucks right now, it's 5 miles down the road, just a very modest shop.
Yeah.
And he hired Carl Edwards. He hired Jamie McMurray. He told Carl Edwards. Carl just told me this story last week. Mike Mittler told Carl Edwards, "You don't have any experience on asphalt. If you wanna drive my truck, you go buy a USAC asphalt sprint car
Okay.
and race it at O'Reilly Raceway Park."
Yeah.
That's what Tony Stewart, that's what Ryan Newman did. So Carl Edwards would do things like this. Get in an old junky car with no heat and air,
Yeah.
drive from Columbia, Missouri to all the
O'Reilly.
way over to Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Go to all the guys that had midgets and sprint cars and ask if he could drive their car, and they say no. He'd go all the way back home, sleep in his car. Finally got a break, and Mittler said, "Okay, you can drive it."
Yeah.
I think they went to Memphis, and he ran 16th, and Mittler was beside himself. He said, "Why didn't you tell me you could drive?" Carl Edwards says, "Mittler, I've been trying to drive for you for 4 years." But Carl Edwards' story is off the charts. I mean, so broke, put his family in complete debt. They gathered up $34,000
Okay.
and bought that hunk of junk
Sprint car.
sprint car
Yeah.
and drove it out on a single trailer axle to Phoenix, Arizona. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Passed on the last lap of the B main, past Jack Hewitt on the outside, made the A main.
Yeah.
Pulled off because his engine was overheating, made the A main, started showing people. But Mittler is solely responsible for Carl Edwards' break, but Carl worked incredibly hard.
He had to make it happen.
Oh my God, did he have to make it happen? Yeah,
That's awesome.
But
That's a cool
Mike
story.
Mittler is a dear friend.
Yeah.
I stay close to Mike. He makes a lot of things for my dirt car and is hugely popular and famous in the world of fabrication.
Sure.
Right now,
So, without the name Dale Earnhardt Sr.,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably not the big name of Kenny Wallace. Is that correct
Senior.
to say?
Dale Sr. was solely responsible, along with my brother Rusty. Well, let's say this. Without my brother Rusty, I'm nobody.
Okay.
Rusty and I, along with his wife, and at the time my girlfriend, we left St. Louis.
Not they were different though.
Right.
Okay. Just making sure.
So, right. We literally, Rusty was in '84. He was going down to get his first NASCAR ride.
Okay.
Drove the number 88 Gatorade car for Cliff Stewart in '84. And in '84, I was going down to be a crew member, car chief,
Right.
on the Levi Garrett car with Joe Ruttman. We literally followed each other down there.
Down there. Yeah.
Right. So I moved back to St. Louis. There's a lot more involved in there, but it's all good. I came back and I started my driving career back here. So in November of 1988, my brother Rusty became successful.
Yeah.
And he loves me, and I love him. And me and my brothers.
You guys
Rusty
are very
and Mike.
close family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rusty said, Herm, I'm going to help you get started racing. My brother Rusty literally is responsible for me leaving St. Louis. I got down there. He had a brand new single-wide mobile home, brand new porch on it, and a brand new van waiting for me and my girlfriend,
Wow.
Kim. So I ended up going back down in 86, and
Yeah.
my brother Rusty starts a team for me, right?
Yeah.
But before we got there, NASCAR said, Kenny Wallace, you cannot race Daytona unless we see you
Okay.
race and give us a portfolio, because you can't just show up Daytona and go 200 mile an hour.
Right.
Rusty calls Earnhardt up. Earnhardt's like, let's put Herman in one of our cars. I raced at Dale Earnhardt in ASA at St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
When I run ASA,
Yeah.
Earnhardt would come run some ASA races with us.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Dale knew me, and Earnhardt was good to me. So Dale Earnhardt, Sr., put me in his number 8 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet Xfinity car.
Okay.
And I went to Martinsville, and I finished, I think, 7th or 8th, whatever it was. And then I gave NASCAR a portfolio that I run Winchester, Indiana, I run Salem, I ran Milwaukee, I ran Michigan, the big speedway.
Right.
And so then NASCAR watched me practice at Daytona, and they finally approved me. But, I mean, Earnhardt was, if he doesn't let me drive that car
Right.
Right.
at Martinsville for NASCAR to say, who is Kenny Wallace?
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm driving Earnhardt's car.
I'm with Earnhardt.
And there was
Yeah.
this, I mean, at the time, in my opinion, there was this perception of Rusty and Dale kind of butting heads a lot, but it seemed like behind the scenes, obviously he's helping you out. It probably wasn't really the case.
No. Fierce competitors.
Yeah.
But they were,
Total respect.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way Rusty and Earnhardt were.
Sure.
Rusty and Earnhardt did a lot of things together off the racetrack and really were friends in
Right.
real.
Yeah.
Right.
Not fake friendship,
Yeah.
which is very rare.
Sure.
Right.
Because,
Right, Ryan?
very hard. It's very rare. I've been through it.
Yeah.
I've got very good friends.
Right.
I've had, Steve Grissom, Ricky Craven, Jeff Gordon. We were jealous of each other every other week.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Because we wanted to be the greatest. Because
Yeah.
Right.
I am the greatest, right?
Of course. Yeah. Got to be.
Ryan Everly.
I'm the greatest.
You're the greatest.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when things wouldn't go good, and you see your buddy over there doing good,
I'm absolute natural jealousy.
you didn't like it.
Yeah. And you love the guy, but you're
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you literally might not talk to him because you were so upset that you weren't that.
Yeah.
But I think with Rusty and Earnhardt, they were such a high level.
Right.
I mean, they were the greatest.
They're the pioneers of really modern day fame and racing for this country.
Yeah.
Because that's the big sport of
Yeah,
racing.
certainly that sort of-
And that was right when it boomed.
Blew up.
You know what I mean? When it really became something big.
Well, and you straighten me out here. to me, NASCAR is the largest form of motorsports. Obviously, not in the world. I guess Formula One,
Yeah.
they race in different countries,
Yeah.
and that's off the charts.
That's right. Yeah.
But I mean, second to that, I don't know of anything bigger than NASCAR.
No.
No,
And-
it's between Cup and F1
Yeah.
and then Cup is only really in the United States.
Right,
You know
so-
what I mean? It's even hard to watch overseas.
Right. So
Yeah.
you look at Rusty and Dale Sr. They were at they're racing in the most highest form.
Yeah.
They both were champions. They both won, and they both wanted to beat each other, but somewhere they just learned that they were both making a crap load of money,
Yeah.
and they somehow they got along really good. Those guys would go in cahoots with each other too.
Right.
Rusty,
Like working together.
Jeff
and stuff.
Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Earnhardt, they're the ones that put up all the money and started Chase Authentics, the die-cast cars.
Right.
and-
Right.
So, I mean, they were making a lot of money.
Right.
that,
And seeing where this could go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fred Wagenall would say, hey, let's put up some money, guys.
Right.
Rusty would write in a $100,000 check, and Earnhardt would, and Gordon would. And my God, they were getting paid back huge.
Has-
So they were involved in this whole deal.
Has Rusty ever invested in podcasts?
Not anymore.
He's out.
He's out now.
Sold his jet. He's living in He's only making about $4 million a year now.
Oh, God.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he keeps it middle class.
He's doing good, though. Proud of my brother. Is there any money in IndyCar?
No.
Define money.
Okay, let's say Hinch, who's Dancing with the Stars right now.
He's probably doing okay.
He's doing.
Like, what is okay?
I
have no idea.
And to be honest, I don't think either of us really know.
He's a millionaire, but just.
Yeah.
And mostly because he obviously he can drive, but he's also very good at selling. You know, he's a showman. He can really get up in front of people and talk and go, hey, I'm going to sell your product for you. But, like, there's only, like, 2 or 3 that can even do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, there are guys that are probably maybe more talented than Hinch, but they can't sit at this table and have a conversation with you.
I mean, you were able to make a legitimate living doing primarily Xfinity racing. And I would say, like, I mean, Indy Lights, that's absolutely not possible.
No.
Every one of them, literally 100% of the drivers in Indy Lights are bringing money. But even at that, there's maybe
I'd say to
half dozen guys.
For just so you know, like half the field of IndyCar, there's 22 cars. Half, maybe even 2/3,
Probably
are
less,
bringing funding to be there. They might be getting paid out of the funding they're bringing, but it's not like Penske's calling. Well, in that case, Penske is. But it's not like half the team owners are calling up going, "Hey, you're the guy, and here's $1 million check."
Right.
Most of them are going, "You bring me $6 million in sponsorship, and I'll give you $500,000 back."
Right.
And that's kind of really how
That's
it works.
brutal.
You know.
Brutal. The end of my career got like that. So if you take the gauge 100%, let's go 0 to 100%. Early, 90% of my career, they paid me.
Right.
But for some reason, at that time, I wasn't trying to get sponsorship.
Right.
But in the glory days,
Right.
you know, I had great sponsors. You know, Dirt Devil, Square D. You know, I know what kind of information to give out, what not to give out. So I'll tell you figures. When I first started racing, when my brother Rusty said, Herm, come down.
Right.
We got Cox Treated Lumber as a sponsor. I think that year, I won Rookie of the Year 89. 1989 was my very first year in NASCAR. We spent $700,000. My brother Rusty paid me $30,000 a year,
Okay.
and 30% of what the car made.
Okay.
I lived in a beautiful, brand new, single wide.
Had the van.
We had the van, buddy. We were in tall cotton.
You were living.
We didn't know what to do with all the money
Right.
because I came from being nothing.
Yeah, dirt poor to.
When I say dirt poor, I mean had a 1976 GMC pickup truck. I'd pull up at the gas station, and this is no lie. It came to where it's like, you know, check the gas, fill it up with oil.
Right.
I had nothing.
Yeah,
One time I always had change, and I went to get change to get a bag of ice.
Yeah.
Take it back to shop, which the shop was a excavating company,
Yeah.
and I put my race car over here next
gotcha.
to the earth movers and the
Right.
bulldozers.
Right. You know, like they do at Hendrick now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just using the holes to get into the car.
So, man, I'm going to tell you what. You know, when my brother Rusty, you know, paid me $30,000 a year.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
living
and gave
high
me
in
a
the hog.
free home to live in.
Yeah.
It was off the charts.
Yeah.
Well, I just learned the expression tall cotton.
Yeah, I like that.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
Well, it's really in tall cotton. I was in tall cotton. It was
way better.
soft and beautiful. I didn't know what to do with all the money.
Okay.
So, I mean, those are real figures.
Right.
Nowadays, I would not want to be a driver trying to run the Xfinity Series because it's identical to the way IndyCar is now. You know, all those guys are my friends. I go through the garage area. I'm well respected because, as I tell everybody, remember, I have the most starts, 544 Sprint Cups or Xfinity starts.
Yeah.
So let's back up. 905 NASCAR races is what I've ran.
Right.
Wow. 340-something Cup starts, 500 and the most starts in the history of the Xfinity Series. So what I'm saying is this. I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. Seen it.
Half that field is, getting sponsors and bringing it to people.
Yeah.
You become a salesman nowadays.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Actually, can we talk about that, the business side of it for a second, on the salesman side? Because you are the perfect example. I'm gonna tell a story about our drive-in, and then let's transition that to what I believe is a common problem. So Ryan's notorious for kind of saying what he thinks on Twitter and being kind of fun.
Speaking my mind.
Speaking your mind.
Yeah.
Right. I like that.
No one knows who the I am, but the content I produce in the sports car world is fairly popular for being a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And the most common thing we hear is that the sport needs more sponsors. The sport needs to figure out how to attract people. And then the first thing you get into when you talk to a prospective team about making some content or helping somebody out with their Twitter profile, oh, I don't want to do that. Sponsors might not like it. You tweeted about pooping once.
Uh-huh.
And yet you still have a TV gig.
Mm-hmm.
You continue, you managed to have a whole life of, as far as I know, not losing sponsors for saying something stupid.
Nope.
And it seems like you speak your mind. So I kind of want your take of this current culture of everybody being kind of scared to say something or do something. I think it's counterintuitive to actually attracting people.
There is, so in our contracts, in our modern day contracts,
Right.
there's a fancy word they use called moral turpitude.
Right.
It means if you disparage them or you disparage yourself in an unbelievable way,
Yeah.
then they can fire you.
Then get rid of you. Yeah. Moral turpitude.
Yeah, moral turpitude.
Right.
That is a word that I learned early in my life, and Rusty taught it to me.
See that?
That is basically the way out of anybody's contract.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I've spent my whole life around Roger Penske, right? Because
Right.
of Rusty.
Right.
Roger has been wonderful to our family. My father died. Roger was there. Flew to St. Louis. So, and I tell Roger this. So I'm going to answer your question. The IndyCar deal, for some reason, they're a little more uptight.
Right.
They're very wealthy people. They are around, wine. They are in a much higher level. They are, it's okay for Roger Penske and Felix Sabates to go on their yacht and they'll sing karaoke in private.
Yeah.
And they'll have a great time.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they have a high level that they have to keep up to because they are very successful. They don't want to make any mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of bleeds down through the IndyCar people.
Right.
IndyCar people are wonderful people, but they're afraid to make any mistakes.
Right.
They, oh my gosh, you said the word poop. Oh gosh. But the word poop is the most funniest.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody does it.
Everyone loves farts.
Everyone
It's like this. Oh, your shit don't stink? Everybody's poop stinks.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm a Howard Stern fan.
Big time.
Yeah.
Me
I
too.
love Howard
We're fine.
Stern. I
Yeah,
listen
right.
to him. I got
Yeah.
him on 100 or 101 right now.
Yeah.
And I chose to take this pattern, and I've been able to keep all my sponsors. And as I look back on it, I never knew I was doing anything wrong.
Right.
It,
Right.
it,
Just having
it,
fun.
it wasn't a strategy.
Yeah, you're just
Right.
having a good time.
I'm like, what? Poop's bad?
yeah, I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know poop was bad.
Yeah, why'd they make an emoji of it?
Yeah. I mean, and what's funny is I'm pooping in a porta potty at a racetrack, and it's 100 degrees outside, and I'm sweating my ass off.
Yeah, they're-
I'm going to tweet this. It's no different than last week.
Right.
So I think to answer your question is I'm a Saturday Night Live fan.
Right.
Okay, I'm not a jokester. I'm not a prankster. I don't tell jokes, and I don't do pranks. However, what I do is I do what Saturday Night Live does. I make fun of stuff.
Sure.
So, for example, last week, I'm racking my brain to give you examples. My wife, Kim, when my toilet paper roll is empty,
Yeah.
I put new toilet paper roll on. My wife will not do it.
Oh.
No.
She just leaves the empty toilet paper roll and stacks the new one on top of the empty so
I can't make
tweeted.
fun of that.
I tweeted.
I can't make fun of that at all.
If I find now I do have a strategy because I've learned.
Sure.
If I'm an IndyCar driver and I was afraid
Yeah.
that I would be in trouble, I would take the Kenny Wallace way. Make fun of things that are everyday life.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everyday life.
That's
Sure.
kind of
And you can't go wrong.
Right.
Because
It's
everybody can relate
It's
to
real.
it.
It's real.
Oh my God! I
Yeah.
tweeted that thing. You know, my wife won't replace the toilet paper roll, and it lit my Twitter up. Oh my God! My wife does that too.
Right.
She, you know,
Yeah, well, it makes you very relatable.
I mean, 99% of the racetracks we go to.
Right.
I mean, it could be Mid-Ohio. It could be Elkhart Lake. It's made up of porta potties.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
they're all
mean,
the same.
it's July and August.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is go into a damn porta potty.
Yeah. No, you like dread it. You're like,
Watch somebody come out of a porta potty.
Yeah.
Just watch them come out. They're sweating. There's sweat's draining down.
Fans, next time you're at a racetrack in the midsummer,
So I
find the porta potties.
So I think,
Enjoy the show.
you know, what I just explained to you is,
Yeah.
you know, I do a radio show every Monday and Tuesday night on Sirius XM Channel 90 called The Late Shift. I say ass. I say piss. You know, F is off limits.
Yeah.
You know,
You can say it on this show.
Yeah.
shit words, you know, f***ing shit's off limits.
Yeah.
Right.
However, I do say ass and piss. I love the Lord. I pray to God. And when people call me up, and you know, early when we first, I'm a year into my radio gig, and I said, listen, here's the deal. If you don't like the way I talk, turn the channel.
Don't listen.
Yeah. Don't
Because
listen.
I don't need this job. It's not
Right.
really a job.
Right.
It pays minuscule
You
money.
like doing it. You like doing it.
I like doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and when I was hired to do the deal, I said, look, I'll do this, but I got to be me.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I made my deal up front with Daniel Norwood. And me and Daniel, he's awesome. I said, Daniel, if I do this radio deal, I said, you know me. I said, Howard Stern is channel 100.
Yeah.
We're channel 90.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in Missouri. We cuss. So, you know, don't be throwing no Jesus on me because I love the Lord. I do.
Don't be throwing no Jesus on me, Daniel Norwood.
Don't be starting this. So, and the other thing is, don't threaten me.
Yeah. Let me be me.
Don't threaten me because you don't need to quit me because this really ain't a job.
Right.
Although I get paid for it.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's not why you're doing it.
But yeah, don't think you're paying me enough money to do this.
Yeah.
It's a minuscule
If
money.
it's not
Right.
fun, you're not going to keep doing it.
Right. And I said the other
Yeah.
thing is don't threaten me, but I'm also going to have to run my dirt car. So I think with the IndyCar guys is, you know, like my sponsors. Okay, I say ass, I say piss, I say the truth, but the president of Toyota, Bob Carter,
Yeah.
calls me up, texts me,
Yeah.
because I'll say his name. My sponsors know me, that they know how much I love racing.
Right.
I mean, this is real America. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not no Donald Trump.
Right.
But I love my wife. I love my children.
Yeah.
So I say ass and piss. So what?
Right.
What,
Right.
you don't
No,
cuss?
you're- we're with you. We're
I mean,
on your
right.
side here, Kenny.
Well, you know,
Kenny-
I know, and I know that.
Can you stop yelling at Sean? He gets sensitive about it.
I start single tier.
No, and I know that. I love your question,
Right.
and I've always respected, I've always enjoyed the IndyCar guys, but they always have that. You know, I'm gonna sell wine. I'm gonna
Right.
create a vineyard. I
Right.
mean, for some reason, it's
Well,
like
they literally, the stock car crowd generally refers to the road racing crowd as the wine and cheese bunch.
Yeah.
well, it's because they're afraid to make mistakes.
Well,
I
and
like
that's-
wine,
I love
Right.
wine.
I love wine.
me some cheese. I get it on my burger.
love it.
Well,
But
that's always been our kind of thing is that, look, you're going to have a guy, if you're naturally conservative and quiet, well, that's you be you. But
Yeah.
we know a lot of guys who maybe could be a little bit more fun
yeah.
or just true to who they are, and they're not. And I feel like that's actually
They're afraid.
it's not helping the sport at all when we're
Right.
acting like this in IndyCar and sports car, which is
I
struggling.
think
so
what
much.
helped me
Yeah.
is I was off-centered from the time I was born.
Right.
So you kind of knew
Couldn't
what you
tell.
were getting.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Like, have you ever, and you can be honest, have you ever gotten halfway into a tweet and got, no,
Yeah,
don't
what
do
is
that.
it? What
Uh,
is it?
What
What
do
is
you
it?
what do you
Kenny
censor
Wallace,
yourself on?
don't tweet.
Because that has to happen a lot.
It happens a lot.
Okay.
Roger Penske told Rusty something, and Rusty told me. And it's you know, I learn a lot from my brother Rusty.
Yeah.
Right.
So like me repeating this story,
Okay.
in my brain right now I'm calculating, should I tell this story?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear. In my brain it's clear to say.
Yeah.
Roger and Rusty would get in arguments.
Yeah.
Sure.
knockdown dugout arguments.
Yeah.
And Roger taught Rusty this, and Rusty said this. Roger says, when you repeat something, you got to say to yourself, what do you have to gain?
Yeah.
So I say, if I tweet this, what do I have to gain?
Yeah.
Right.
So there'll be times I get ready to push tweet and go, nope,
Nope. Yeah. Not
Delete.
gonna help. Not gonna
Right.
help.
Right.
Yeah.
not going to work. It will either come across as I'm whining.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
People don't like whining.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I don't want anybody to look through my timeline from the day one it started.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you.
Well,
I would be embarrassed to look through my
would
timeline.
22-year-old Kenny Wallace with Twitter have maybe gotten in the way of his career?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like my wife knows, you know, I love my wife. I like her big titties. She knows it. I tell it. I say it. I like
Please.
big. I like.
Thank you.
I,
High five.
I like.
Okay.
Listen. I like Danica Patrick. She's a good-looking girl.
Sure.
People start that. I'm like, what's wrong with you, man? You don't like girls?
Right.
You know, I mean, I got a lot. I got a lot of lesbian friends, gay people.
Sure.
I love everybody. If
Yeah.
you're nice to me, I'm nice to
That's
you.
100%
yeah.
it right there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you
Preaching
know,
to the choir.
I tweet that stuff right now.
Right.
You know, right now, I still think it's fair game.
Right.
You know, because, you know, but you know, it's a deal where my wife, she loves me, I love her, I'm not cheating on her,
Right.
so everything's fair game. If I want to talk about titties,
Right.
it's okay with my wife, and everybody
And
knows
you're good.
it.
Yeah.
And actually, when I'm doing the radio show, I say, "Come here, baby," live on the radio show.
Yeah.
I'll put the headset on her.
Yeah.
But you're playing the game knowing the rules.
Yeah.
And maybe at 22 you wouldn't know that.
No.
Yeah. Exactly.
My daughters, for Christmas about 2-3 years ago, gave me a book. It was incredible. It was all my tweets.
Oh, I remember
that's
you posting
awesome.
about that. I remember you posting about that.
I started looking back there and I
You're
put
like,
it down.
No, burn this.
I'm like, oh my God.
Burn this.
Oh my God, I tweeted something right now that I regret. I'll give you an example. I said,
Make it happen.
I said, Ricky Stenhouse will get a ride because he's talented, and Brian Scott will get a ride because he'll pay for it.
Yeah.
And oh my God,
What's that bad?
they lit me up for 2 days.
When
And
you say they, you
I
mean
pretended like the Twitter didn't work.
like, yeah, my phone died.
And I thought, that was a little personal.
But wait,
But true, right?
Well, but who's they is my question.
Yeah, is this the Scott fans? Because how many Brian Scott fans are there
Well,
compared to like Kenny Wallace?
I
fans?
like Brian Scott a lot.
Okay.
And I called him and I apologized to him. But what I said was so true. So in other words, if you said Kenny Wallace is where he's at because his brother, I'd say, yep, that's 100% true.
But you're self-aware. You're self-aware.
There's a book that came out on me. It was very therapeutic called Inside Herman's World.
Is it available?
It's like our fourth book that we've gotten people
like a
talked
big
about
book
on the
tour.
season this year. Last year, no one
So
was
it's
on.
called Inside Herman's World?
Inside Herman's
On
World.
Amazon?
Was, Coastal 181.
Coastal181.com.
Yep. Go to
Okay.
coastal181.com. Inside Herman's World.
Okay.
Well, the book's been around for about a 5-year-old book now.
Perfect.
But Stremy read the book.
Okay.
Called me up right away. He goes, oh, my God. He said, I really didn't know. So what happens, it's like when you don't know a person and then you find out more about them.
Yeah.
You know, like if you don't know, you know. So Stremy read the book and he loves me more
Yeah. That's cool.
because we you know, you don't know.
Yeah. Now he knows your story a little bit.
Now he knows my story, and I'll expand more on that.
Yeah.
So I was an asphalt racer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the road course racing I would do was Suzuka Circuit in Japan and
Right.
Motegi and
Yeah.
with you. I'm not a road racer, but I experienced road racing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to run dirt.
Yeah.
And I looked at Kenny Schrader and I said, teach me how to run dirt. This went on for over a year or two. And Schrader finally said to me one day in his airplane at the time, he said, Herman, why do you want to learn how to run dirt? And I looked at him square in the eye and I said, because A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti ran dirt.
Yeah.
And I don't want to end my racing career never running dirt.
Without that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the great legendary racers were called this, racers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Racers.
100%.
I mean, you know, they'd run the Indy 500.
Yeah.
They'd go down and run Terre Haute.
Right.
I mean, you know, they were racers.
Right.
Well, I want to go back to that Brian Scott thing real quick, because what is funny to me from coming from no money, like yourself, Sean as well, and I guess that's my lack of understanding, but like there's this thing that happens with kids that pay to race where they don't want to be seen as the kid that pays to race. They want to be seen as the pro. Whereas I think you and I would have been just fine having a resort that our family owned, sponsoring our way up and getting to drive the best of everything until that point.
Right.
And there are people that make the switch. Like a lot of these kids that race Indy cars started out with a lot of money behind them, and now they're paid race car drivers.
At the end of the day, if you're a winning driver, you're going to be a winning driver.
Good. Yeah, exactly right.
Let me start out like this. I always defend Dale Earnhardt Jr. like this. He can't help. He's Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What's he going to do?
Right.
Get put back in the womb?
Yeah. Well, let's look at it like this. He's Dale Earnhardt Jr. because he got the opportunities that his dad provided for him because of who he was. He didn't start out as a dirt poor kid that had no opportunity.
Yeah. This is a great subject and near and dear to my heart. And I'll tell you what I learned. I'll tell you some stories, and then I'll tell you the end. The story is this. My career was like 100% going great. And then at the very end of my career, Alex Bowman's dad come up with some money and went to Robbie Benton and said, hey, and I was, everything went good in 2011, 2012, stuff started going down, and I was sour right away.
Yeah.
I'm like, this little son of a bitch
Yeah.
bought my ride. I made this team famous.
Yeah.
Robbie and Boris said won the race up there at Circuit, Jacques Villeneuve, whatever it's called.
Montreal.
Won the race. But at that point, Robbie didn't have anything.
Yeah.
I brought Robbie $1.1 million worth of sponsorship. Federated Auto Parts, UNOH, American Ethanol. It was all together 1.1.
Yeah.
Nowhere near enough.
Right.
I'm making good TV money, and I said, don't ever pay me. He said, no, I want to pay you.
Right.
I said, okay, give me. It was a large portion of the point fund money.
Okay.
He came to me 3/4 of the way through the year and said, we had to borrow a lot of money to finish the year.
Right.
We can't pay you. I said, okay. So in 2011, I brought $1.1 million, never received any money,
Yeah.
and I was happy as hell.
And you're just happy to be there.
And I had like 11 top fives.
Yeah, you had good races. That was like right after we had kind of met. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, Herm's got it.
And I was showing up, man.
Yeah, you're doing
top
a great
threes
job.
and I was like Rocky. I was like 46 years old and doing it.
Yeah.
In the winter of 2011, I said, what we can do for sponsorship next year? Well, the money never came. We went to Daytona with a Cup car and an Xfinity car.
That's right. Yeah.
Cup car, we were the first person for the electronic ignition to go bad.
Okay.
In the twin 125.
Yeah.
And then we wrecked out in the Xfinity race. That Saturday, I'm walking back to my motorhome, and my phone rings, and it's Robbie Benton. He said, can you come back to the hauler? And I just got done wrecking out. I go back, and he goes, we're out of money. I said, Robbie, I asked you back in the wintertime. You said we were fine.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is Alex Bowman's father and them, somehow they solicited everything.
Yeah.
And it hurt me so bad because I thought that we were all fine.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know Alex Bowman. I didn't know his dad, but I was bitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said some things about that 2 weeks. I didn't say any bad things, but I was very bitter.
Yeah, bad place.
So if somebody wanted to interview me right now and ask me about that, I'm like, hey, I was bitter. Son of a bitch. He didn't do anything wrong, but I didn't know my ride. I did not know on the down low my ride was up for sale.
You're right. Right.
So I became a man. Now here's where the story starts. I was on radio with Dave Moody, and I was being a smartass.
Man, I love you.
And I basically said, well, my ride is being bought from me by Alex Bowman and stuff. So my dear close friend Brendan Gaughan calls me up.
Yeah.
Herman, what are you talking like that for? You know that's my deal. I got money from my dad, and he really put me in my place and taught me a valuable lesson. I had sour grapes. I was hurt.
Yeah.
Because I had put all this effort in.
Sure.
I had put all this effort in to get this money and race. And let me say this. this whole time, me and my wife had money. I have money. I do.
Yeah, you're good.
But what I did is I kept thinking in my brain, if the car doesn't have money, then I'm broke.
Right.
I was living my whole life through the car.
Yeah.
But if you looked over here in my checkbooks
Like,
and my savings,
shit, I'm okay.
I can retire.
Yeah.
So I was so focused on my racing career.
Yeah.
And I was so distraught. I was judging my whole self-worth through how that race car finished.
Yeah.
And now that I'm 53 years old, I look back and I go, how foolish was I?
Right.
But Ann Schrader taught me, Kenny Schrader's wife. She says men tend to judge their self-worth through their jobs. So I started apologizing.
Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, I'm out.
So I started calling up Brendan Gaughan.
Yeah.
And I think I apologized to him 2 or 3 times, like every 6 months after that.
Yeah.
And he kept going, Herm, we're all good, man.
Yeah.
We're
he's
all
the
good.
best. Yeah.
So now I'm going to put this to bed. I've been through everything you just said.
Yeah.
And now, and I'm going to give some examples. Now when people go, Kenny, I want your opinion. Does Danica Patrick, she don't deserve to be in that? It's like, whoa. I don't care if you think Danica Patrick deserves the ride or not. Here's the deal. She brings the sponsorship.
Yeah, she's got one.
She's hiring the 30 guys, and the 30 guys
Yeah.
are married with children.
I have a great story for this. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Here's the other deal. Brian Scott, his dad's loaded.
Yeah.
His father loves him.
Yeah.
It's his child.
Right.
Okay? I learned this process. Okay? I can't help it, But when people buy rides, here's the end of the story. If you are Brendan Gaughan and your dad's got money, I love you. I want to be around you. Let's drink beer together. Let's do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you're Brian Scott, I love you to death. Your dad's got money. I like Brian Scott.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. I got to learn him a lot. He's awesome. He's one of us.
Okay.
But if your dad's got money and you're a prick,
Yeah.
then I don't like you.
Glad you finished it with that.
There we are. Yeah.
The end.
I
Be thankful for your dad having money. So basically what we're doing is we're going back through a little bit of therapy that I had to go through.
Right.
If you go way back, I was devastated that I was not Jeff Gordon.
Right.
But then you know what somebody taught me? You and everybody else.
Yeah.
I thought I was on an island by myself.
Sure.
Me and Jeff Gordon came in exact same year.
Yeah.
And he kicked me and Bobby Labonte's ass. And he went on. I didn't know at the time he was going to be one of the greatest drivers of all time.
Yeah.
I was so jealous. I wanted to be him.
Yeah.
Somebody come along with money. And I, too, was like that. Oh, he's winning races because his dad's got money.
Right.
It took years of maturity because when you're young, I don't give a shit about anything except me.
Yeah.
I want to be the greatest. I am the greatest. And, to be any more mature, you have to be born special.
Sure.
I would say I truly believe that I truly believe that I'm like everybody else.
Right.
I think if you're 22 and you think smart, you're rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to grow up and learn that if a kid was born and his father had a lot of money, why would you be mad at the kid?
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
he can't help he's born.
Sure.
So I had to learn this, also how to answer people like, everybody gets mad at Danica Patrick, I'm telling you, I raced her up there at Montreal, Canada.
Yeah.
Of course, I had a piece of car, but I couldn't get rid of her. She
Yeah.
was all over my ass.
Yeah.
And, and I pitted next to her. She's good to me. She goes to the dirt tracks.
That's cool. Yeah.
And I like her. She cusses. It's very important for me that people cuss.
I get it.
I
get
don't
it.
like it when people don't cuss.
Yeah.
They scare me. and that's,
Do you want to join us on this trip?
I mean, that's
Get along.
I see some quotes out there, but I'm going to tell you what. I love the Lord, right? And I'm a Lutheran. But if you're going to play this whole religious card on me that you don't cuss, next you're going to say you don't make love to your wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? So back it down.
Yeah. Right. Settle it. I would say that Ken Schrader is your go-to guy. He's your best friend.
Yeah, you've
Is that
mentioned him
kinda
like a
what I
half
get?
dozen times
And
so
you
far.
do all the time. You guys
100%.
Anytime you guys are in interviews together, it's hilarious. It's fun to watch you guys.
Yep.
If he's your go-to guy,
Right.
who's your absolute opposite? And I'm not saying you have to
Rusty.
hate the guy.
My brother.
Oh, really?
I hate him and love him. You know why? Because first of all, my brother Rusty is my existence.
Yeah,
he
right.
defines me.
Right.
You know, there's that old saying, "You don't define me."
Yeah,
You know what?
does.
My brother defines me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can tell you all these. I mean, he's taught me so many things. You know, better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
That came when Bobby Allison got T-boned at the trial at Pocono
Okay.
Yeah.
and had no money,
Yeah.
and everybody was bailing Bobby out. So Rusty said, better safe than sorry. Put your money away. Look what
Yeah.
happened to Bobby.
Right.
Rusty and I understand idiosyncrasies of people.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see people, you know, Rusty, let me tell you something about that guy, Herm. You know, or one thing Rusty told me was this: don't ever bitch to your car owner. Car owners don't like to hear you bitching.
Yeah.
Make sure you and your crew chief settle this.
Yeah.
And if you do bitch to your car owner, make sure you're ready to back it up
Yeah.
and feel strong that you're going to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many things that Rusty taught me.
That's great advice.
But on the opposite, he is so brutally honest with me that there's times I just wanted to tackle him,
Yeah.
start punching him.
And that hadn't happened?
Oh, he's so. Oh, no, because I can't beat him up. He's bigger than me. I love my brother Rusty more than. I mean, he's right there with my wife
Yeah.
because my brother Rusty made a life for me and my
he
wife.
helped you carry on, yeah.
I mean, he got us. Thank you. He got us to where I'm at.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with Rusty is he won't filter anything to me.
Can't even just sugarcoat it a little.
Just can't sugarcoat it at all.
Yeah.
Now, is that because you're blood, or is he like that with everybody?
No, he's. And I know this is gonna sound corny.
Sure.
He loves me a lot,
Copy.
and I know he loves me a lot.
Right.
But he can't say love.
Sure.
He's real hardcore. He's like, I tell him, I say, my brother's like a rock, a boulder.
Yeah.
But he loves me so much, and he's my big brother. He'll look me right in the face and just talk the worst. and I'm like,
about you?
I'm like, oh, you know, I'm like
right here.
Oh my God, I'll never forget. You know, we won 9 Xfinity races. And I'm really proud of that.
Sure.
It's very hard to win one.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I won a really good Xfinity race at Richmond. Earnhardt, Mark behind me. I had a really good car. We won. 1994, number 8 TIC car. Race gets over, but here's the deal. Earlier that day, I had missed the Cup race.
Yeah.
Did not qualify.
Right.
I was devastated. And Rusty goes up, just looks me right in the face after I win the race in Victory Lane on national TV all day. He goes, really glad you won that race. He says, because, you know, since you missed the Cup race, if you wouldn't have won this race, you know, it would, you know, that would have been no good because you just show you can't drive. Says that shit to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. But he's the opposite of Schrader. Now Schrader will push the knife into my skin, but he won't puncture.
Okay.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
he gives
He'll get
me
you just enough.
He gives me really good advice.
Okay.
One time, I didn't even know I was doing it. I was doing I was at a dirt track. I was in Jefferson, South Dakota, and I was doing a Q&A. Not even a Q&A, but doing a little talk.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I don't know why I did it at the time. I was young, I guess. And I said, yeah, I said, you see these rednecks coming up with no teeth in their mouth? That night, we started drinking beer, and Schrader goes, I want to talk to you. I said, okay. And I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
He goes, today. He says, tell me what you said. He says, what you said was absolutely horrible. He said, you said those rednecks with no teeth in their mouth. And there was a lady that had no teeth, and she took her hand, and she got very sad and covered her mouth up.
Oh,
I felt horrible.
Yeah.
I felt horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
But Schrader taught me a valuable lesson. You know, I thought I was having fun, and I was.
Right.
Yeah.
Thought it was funny.
It's all good jokes.
But he just has that awareness.
He has that awareness,
Yeah.
and Kenny Schrader has more friends than anybody on earth.
Right.
I tease that if you go to Italy and you go to the Vatican, the Pope goes, hey, Schrader.
So part of the thing we do on the show is a pass-along question.
Yep.
So last night we had dinner with Dan Binks, who knew that you knew Mike Mittler pretty well.
Right.
And Dan's he's won Le Mans, he's won the Daytona 24-hour. He was Greg Biffle's crew chief when he won with Roush in Sprint Cup back in 01 or 2000 or whatever.
2000.
Very well-known guy in the sports car world. And he said the thing he wanted to know about you is if you weren't a race car driver, what would your job have been? Where would your life have gone?
I've always been consistent. I've answered this the same way ever since I've been a kid. I would have been on AM radio talking about current affairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay.
Not so
Yeah.
much politics,
Okay.
but pick up the newspaper, read it, and then talk about it.
Okay.
Right.
So, but you say AM radio. So, would you have been like the brash? Here's my editorial opinion
No.
guy, or would you be like the soft-spoken? And then
Well,
this happened.
I've changed.
Okay.
Maybe early I would have been brash,
Okay.
but now I don't believe in arguing.
Yeah.
If somebody says something I don't agree with, I've trained myself here lately to go, okay, not
Right.
being mad about it, but okay.
So, all right.
I've always said that just because somebody likes chocolate, and if I don't like it, just keep your mouth shut.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Don't say nothing.
It took me a while to learn that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, you're eating chocolate.
Yeah, what's
You're
wrong
dumb.
with you?
You're
Yeah,
dumb.
yeah, exactly.
I try not to judge people, so
You don't hang out with many vegans, I take it.
I'm the guy that likes Johnny Depp and
Yeah.
off-centered people.
Yeah.
I just go,
Get it.
wow. Lady Gaga. I'm like, this is incredible. It is not important for me to have people a certain way.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not important to me also. So yeah, I think, I would do AM current affairs.
Okay.
And the reason I say AM is because I grew up on KMOX radio
Okay.
in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
We might have lunch tomorrow with Kevin Rocket Blanche, who is a longtime IndyCar mechanic, and he works with the IndyCar tech team now, like doing, tech inspection and stuff like that. If you had any pass-along question for Kevin Rocket Blanche,
Yep.
what would it be? Doesn't have to be racing related.
Do the competitors realize that when you're teching these cars, you're just doing your job?
That's actually a very good question.
All right, I know you've answered this question 1,000 times over, but for our audience who may not be as kind of stock car centric, Herman,
Yeah.
where'd it come from?
So I was born in 1963 in the city of St. Louis. Moved to Rolla, Missouri, Mom and Dad say, I was 3 months old. And one of my dad's racing friends, his name was Bob Miller. He was a big German man, maybe 6'2",
Nice.
crew cut. He was good to me. And he called me old Herman the German because, I really was diagnosed hyperactive and put on Ritalin. And
Really? That existed then?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Actually, my mom gave it to me, and I got real quiet. And she's the one that threw the Ritalin away, because they sent me. I was always in trouble in school, not for being bad, just shut up,
Yeah, right.
squeak in my chair, give me attention. So Bob Miller nicknamed me old Herman the German. And because in Germany or in some of the cartoons around here, Herman the German was he was like a medieval warrior, but he was a mischievous cartoon character.
Okay.
So Bob Miller remembered Herman the German, so it became Herman. Then when I went to North Carolina, it became the Herminator, and I like that.
Yeah, Herminator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Herm.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, Herman.
Good old Herm. So in your career, you've gotten to witness a lot of things, and the funniest thing to me is that how nobody outside of the racing paddock, but everybody inside knows the old story about, how Johnny O'Connell tried to run over Dario Franchitti and kill him.
Everybody knows that story. I heard about Johnny running over Dario. I mean, that's old.
That's old.
That's old
stuff.
news. Yeah.
Tell me the Kenny Wallace story that none of us really know about outside of the world of racing. Like I wouldn't know it because I'm a sports car guy. Like, is there a beach to car in the Daytona rental car on the beach, or is there a...
I'll tell you a story that was crazy. Is Sterling Marlin he's out of Franklin, Tennessee, down there.
Yeah.
Somewhere down there around Nashville. He got a hold of some quarter stick of dynamite. Now,
I like where this is going.
When I say quarter stick of dynamite, I mean
actual
real.
Yeah.
Like quarter stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
Not an M80. Like a real quarter stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
So somehow my brother Rusty Wallace's boy, Stephen Wallace,
Yeah.
got a hold of these, a couple of them. So
Still has all his fingers.
Still has all his fingers. We get up to Dover, and we got this rent-a-van. You know, everybody has a rent-a-car. Well, this is a rent-a-van, team van, 6, however many, 10 guys fit in it.
Right.
It's like, come on, everybody. The car's been through tech. Let's go back to the hotel. And we all get in this van. And we didn't really realize that Steven lit one of these quarter stick of dynamites, threw it under the van. Oh, I'm going to tell you what. I think we sat there and we were shell-shocked. And this is my hand on a Bible. We couldn't pull off. You know why? Because when the quarter stick of dynamite went off, it literally blew both the rear tires out. and here's the worst part. He still had another stick left.
Right.
A week or two later, Rusty, my brother Rusty Wallace, his wife Patty, have this barn, like a horse barn.
Yeah.
And in the lower level, there was the horses, and up top was an apartment. Steven is lighting this last stick, and he's just going to blow it up.
Right.
His mother comes through the gate. She hits the numbers. She's coming through the gate. Steven looks over, sees his mom coming through the gate, and goes, oh, my God. Throws the M80 in the toilet. It does not put it out. It blew the toilet, and you know how the plumbing is in the sheetrock?
Right.
It blew everything out of the wall. My brother Rusty Wallace calls me up. Herman, where are you at? I'm over here at the house, bro. Why? Steven needs to stay with you a couple days. What happened? He tells me what happens. Rusty kind of thinks it's funny, but Rusty's wife, Patty,
He's in trouble.
is getting ready to kill Steven.
Right, he's in trouble. He's got to go.
So always remember this. I've learned that maybe a firecracker, maybe a bottle rocket might go out, but when you get to those big ones, the wicks are really big.
If they're green, they're waterproof.
They will not go out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep. That's life lessons.
And you just taught me something. Green means waterproof.
The green firecracker stems are waterproof. We figured that out at a young age. Yeah, still got on my fingers. So you get to see a lot of talent because you're on the dirt tracks, and then obviously you were in NASCAR for a really long time. Who's the guy that maybe never got the big break he should have, that we might not have ever heard of that's out there? Like, who's the guy that –
It's a great question because Dale Earnhardt talked to me about that. Earnhardt, when he was alive, picked me up at my double wide mobile home. Went from single to double.
Moving on up. Yeah.
Earnhardt, motorhomes were getting to be a big deal. He goes, Herman, what are you doing? So I'm getting ready to go down to Darlington. He goes, I'm going to come pick you up. You ride with me. We'll get you a ride on with me. All right. Earnhardt pulls up. I get into the motorhome with him. We drive on down. We have a great conversation about how important crew chief is. But one thing Earnhardt said to me that I tell everybody, he said, Herman, there are thousands of great race car drivers all over the United States. So there's a guy right now nobody knows about. His name's Mike Harrison.
Okay.
He's a 5-time UMP national champion. He's incredibly talented. Cheats his right rear quarter panel on the wall, but keeps momentum going, has great car control. When I look at talent, I do agree that if you stay in a series too long and you try to change series, then it stunts your growth.
Okay.
Watch, I believe it was Nigel Mansell go from Formula One, went to IndyCar, took him a little bit.
Yeah.
And me and Earnhardt, Dale Sr., we talked about that. He said, Nigel Mansell was finally getting the hang of it. He didn't, do it all right away.
Yeah.
But you just gave him a little bit of time.
Yeah.
To me, that's talent. Sure. That's incredible. You look at somebody like Juan Pablo Montoya, incredibly good. But I felt like Juan came to NASCAR too late in the age.
Okay.
I think that's incredibly hard to do. I know for a fact just about everybody that I race in NASCAR, they probably couldn't outrun you in Continental Tire Series.
Sure.
They couldn't. You got to know all the idiosyncrasies, all the quirks.
And vice versa the other way. I'm not going to show up and be the me of my series in that class.
Right.
Yeah.
So, right now in what I'm doing, there's a guy named Mike Harrison out of Highland, Illinois. He's a farmer.
How old is he?
Mike's now about 40, 41.
Okay.
There's too much talent coming up now, Ryan, that's young. They're lined up around the block.
Yeah.
So to say, who's the next young talent? I mean, no lie. You could rattle 20 of them off right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But here's a guy that's in his 40s. He's a farmer.
Here's a guy that's 41. He's been great for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and what I like about him is, you know, it's harvest time. All the farmers are in the field getting the corn, the soybean out.
We've been driving around for the last few weeks in the Midwest, and we've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
even at night.
This is where they make their money.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, they risk their money on when they plant seed.
Yeah.
You know, they hope they don't get flooded. You know, then when the corn stalks start coming up, you know, they don't want windstorms and hail to kill them. You know, there's a lot of stress to be a farmer.
Absolutely.
But Mike, you know, he drives you know, he's got to have a Class A. And so every time he shows up at the racetrack, you know, he's coming to race a big race.
Yeah.
10,000 to win.
Right.
All the time for us. He won it. And he's got that little earpiece like a trucker.
Okay.
Because it's illegal to pick up a phone while you're driving, you know, farm equipment.
Yeah, right.
Class A. And
sure.
so the guy really mixes and matches his work with racing. I really admire him for that,
Yeah.
you know.
Kind of in the similar theme of that, who of the current crop of NASCAR drivers, whether it's trucks, Xfinity, or even Sprint Cup, who's the next Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon that you see out of the group?
Boy, I tell you.
There's a lot to pick from, too.
I really mean this. I really think it's Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
I really think it's Chase Elliott, and I'll tell you why. I know it's coincidental that his dad's legendary.
Yeah.
But I really think when you're born, you know, like me, I was born and my dad raced. I mean, I live, eat, and breathe racing. I know a lot about it. When you're Chase Elliott, you're born, and your dad takes you to every racetrack. It's no different than Kevin Harvick taking his son Keelan.
Yeah.
You start absorbing everything.
That's how I was kind of raised at the track, too, with my dad.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, so if Chase Elliott, let's say, for example, Chase Elliott's very first time to Darlington, he won.
Yeah.
Well, I know it sounds odd, but the kid grew up watching every lap at that track.
Yeah.
Maybe on the pit box, watching the TV. You burn it into your brain that, oh, Dad would go down low here and then go up by the wall here. And, the whole time we're watching this race, Dad's right on the wall. So you go from 0 age to 16 knowing that.
Knowing all of it. Yeah.
So I really feel that if you're born at the racetrack and you go to every race, I think you have a really good chance.
What's next for Kenny Wallace? You got dirt racing this weekend?
Leave at 8:30 in the morning. I'm going to drive. I got my Class A CDL, which I made a big deal out of.
Yeah.
Going to drive the hauler down to Charlotte tomorrow.
Okay.
We're going to race at the Charlotte dirt track on Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Sunday morning, I'm lucky. I go 2 miles away to the Concord Regional Airport.
Yeah.
Get on the Joe Gibbs plane. I'm bumming a ride from them to go to my job on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, and do Fox Sports.
Is that Dega?
Yep, Talladega.
Yeah.
So that's what's headed right now. So basically, from this podcast, and in about 18, 20 hours, jump in the hauler and drive it 13 hours and
get back to being a racer.
Go racing again. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so
All
much
right, man.
for sitting down with us. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, keep being you. I love you, man. Thanks for everything.
I'll never change.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man. All right. Continental's got the check.
Good stuff.
I'm finished.
Wow, that was such a great episode. That guest really knew how to tell a story.
Well, good, Ryan. I'm glad you feel that way because I agree. Kenny Wallace, endless entertainment. Well worth the drive to Arnold, Missouri to get. It probably cost us about 2 days of the trip to get that. But yeah, all worth it. So,
You're welcome, Sean. I'm right here.
all right, we're going to close this episode out by revisiting a favorite local band of mine, a group called I See Hawks in L.A., and that is the word C as in S-E-E, and L.A. as in Los Angeles. They're available on iTunes. We played a little bit of them last year, but to be blunt, to close this episode out, I am more than happy if anybody listening to this podcast buys their music on iTunes, but very specifically, I want Kenny Wallace to hear this because I want to choose a song that I thought he would listen to and go, oh my God, I love this song. And this is one I think he'll like. It's a special ditty called Stop Driving Like an Asshole.
Stop driving like an asshole. know who you are. Did you think when you cut me off it would help you go farther? You're an accident waiting to happen, a flipped over SUV on the 405 at 6 o'clock. Your car gets on TV and the angels will sing sha-la-la-la-la. You drove like an asshole. Yes, the angels will sing sha-la-la-la-la. You drove like an asshole. Yes, the angels will sing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, asshole. Yes, the angels will sing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la, asshole.